I guess I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan.
Red Dead Redemption 2 takes delight in its complicated outlaw, Arthur Morgan. Grand Theft Auto could take Arthur as an example on writing heroes. With a combination of amazing writing, impressive deeds, and genuine likability, Arthur easily establishes himself as one of the greatest gaming heroes of his console generation. His popularity is so great that he managed to eclipse the protagonist of the original Red Dead Redemption, John Marston. Arthur especially stands out in comparison to the protagonists of Rockstar's other series, Grand Theft Auto. While several of GTA's protagonists have received a respectable level of renown among fans, many of them are rather similar in several ways, and their own storylines typically lack the emotional punch of Arthur's. GTA's more irreverent mood compared to RDR2 also has a definite effect on their respective protagonists, and that difference works out in Arthur's favor as a character. GTA 5's protagonists may be rich, but Arthur easily bests them in personality. So why is Arthur Morgan better than every GTA protagonist? In RDR2 is a criminal with a set of morals. From the beginning of Red Dead Redemption 2, it is clear that Arthur has been an outlaw for decades at the time of the game's story, running with the Van der Linde gang since he was a young man. While this backstory gives the impression that Arthur is a remorseless, lifelong criminal willing to do anything to put some money in his pocket, that description is very far from the truth. While Arthur does live on the wrong side of the law, he has plenty of noble qualities that earn the respect of players. Arthur earned quite a bounty over the years, but he was far more than a mere criminal. One notable thing about Arthur is that whenever someone from his gang is in need, he doesn't hesitate to lend a hand. Even at the beginning, when he heads out with Charles to find John lost in the snowy wilderness, his first instinct is to make sure that his friend is safe. He exercises his sharp tongue with some barbs at John's extent after the fact, but that doesn't change the fact that Arthur didn't think twice before planning to save him. In fact, the reason for Arthur's anger at John has nothing to do with having to rescue him, but rather because John disappeared for a year, leaving his wife and young son behind. In the eyes of Arthur, who highly values family and loyalty, this is a major sin. Arthur's chivalry doesn't just extend to his own gang. He is willing to stick his neck out for his old flame Mary as well in order to save her little brother from a cult, for no reason other than to help the two of them out. Beyond that, Arthur can even lend a hand to complete strangers simply because they happen to be in need. Arthur can be in the middle of the wilderness with no one else around and offer medicine to an injured man simply because he can. That's not the action one would expect from a seasoned outlaw, but while Arthur is not a good man by his own admission, he still possesses human decency in RDR2, which makes him stand out from some of GTA's less sympathetic characters. Arthur's complexity in RDR2 overshadows GTA's flawed protagonists. There are a few protagonists in GTA who have faced rather similar problems to Arthur, but the way they were written made them less relatable and also less likable, so they could not make the same impact that Arthur has. Take Michael from GTA 5, for example. Like Arthur, his past plays a significant role in making him who he is and deciding his actions. However, Michael's bad temper and reckless actions, not to mention his antagonistic relationship with his family for much of the story, make him harder to root for. In particular, compare Michael's relationship with his family to Arthur's with the Van der Linde gang. The Van der Lindes may have been doomed, but Arthur's unfailing loyalty makes their dissolution a tragedy. For an even greater contrast, look at one of GTA 5's other protagonists, Trevor Phillips. Like Arthur, Trevor has been a criminal for almost his entire adult life. However, Trevor's actions are so extreme that despite how often the game tries to play his antics for laughs, he is exceedingly difficult to sympathize with. He may share Arthur's virtue of loyalty, but it is virtually the only thing he has that comes close to being a redeeming trait, and he spends the majority of his time acting heinously. In comparison, while Arthur is a criminal, he is usually courteous and friendly to regular folks, and he feels disgusted when he does something he considers distasteful, such as Strauss sending him after unfortunate creditors, ultimately leading to Strauss's expulsion from the gang. As a counterpoint, Trevor took part in GTA 5's infamously controversial torture scene and had absolutely no qualms about torturing an innocent man. Arthur has limits, while Trevor does not, and that makes him an easier character to support. Arthur has done plenty of things over the course of his long life, and he's not proud of all of them. Even before Arthur joined Dutch's gang in Red Dead Redemption 2, he had a storied history. In fact, the things that he regrets have done plenty to shape him into the man he is when the player is introduced to them. Arthur's past comes up on multiple occasions, both positively and negatively, and it becomes a real driving force for what he does. This may come down to the general moods of each game, as Grand Theft Auto is more focused on raunchy comedy and over-the-top scenarios, while Red Dead Redemption 2 is very grounded and occasionally somber. However, Arthur is much more effective at conveying all sorts of scenarios, be they serious or comical.